lyrics of the black men's last words who had died. Echa, mother, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Unbelievable. I just want to share that. Deb Kolodny took all the last words of these murdered black men and women and sang it to the trope, the nusach of Echa, of Lamentations. I found it extremely moving, and my colleague Benjamin Barnett gave a powerful drosh. And then we walked over and we joined 8,000 people protesting for Black Lives. And that went on for hours. It was an extraordinary confluence of sadness and grief coupled with messianic potential that all of us carry, right? All of us carry the ability to stand up like John Lewis did for justice. When I was a child, my parents marched me around in civil rights marches in the 60s. Some of you remember that here. Some of you were actually involved. And I wanted to share that last night I felt that incredible paradox of grief and then potential in fighting along. And the most heartening thing that made me cry the most was seeing 17, 18, 19-year-old people there. That was the most important thing. To see kids younger than my own out there fighting for justice. Some of them doing some naughty things. But I was very heartened by the millennials and younger, the 20-somethings there. That was incredibly important for me to see as we pass the baton, although some of us will have to take it out of our dead hands. But they're boomers, you know, the boomers and the war babies. So I was inspired by the funeral today, and I've always been inspired by all of you and your potential. Susan, my teacher, is here. Baruch Hashem, one of my teachers, several. Abigail, one of my teachers. People who were young people during the freedom rides. Miriam, that time, right? Early 60s, who were activists. Very inspiring. I'm also inspired by my peers, and I brought you a great teacher today. We were ordained in close proximity, Reb Tamima Itzkovitz, yes? And yes, who teaches very powerfully and beautifully in the tradition of the Mekubalim, Mekubalot. Can I even say that word? A Mekubalot, yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. Now it's a thing. They've come out, you know. We have women Kabbalists today, Baruch Hashem. Thank God we have women Kabbalists. And so Tamima, I've always learned a lot from Tamima, and her work for Holistic Jew, her publications, her work on liturgy has been amazing and brilliant and interesting and provocative, and channeling some of the great Kabbalists. I feel like Tamima and I were in Tzfat a few hundred years ago hanging out, except I was a woman and she was a man. You know how that goes with Gilgal, right? You never know what you were, what gender. Well, maybe I was non-binary, but I had to be one or the other. Who knows? So anyway, welcome Tamima to share with us about this extraordinary day of national mourning and grief that we observe each year, each in our own way. I don't know how many of you are fasting or part day or symbolically, but I'm going to turn it over to Reb Tamima now.
Thank you. Yeah, really honored and delighted to be here. And it's a really most potent day. I guess I want to start out by sharing on a personal level. Um, Tisha B'Av just fills me with, makes me quake in my boots. There's a real sense of awe because, yeah, for a personal reason, before I was in the rabbinical world, before I started studying Kabbalah, I was in the corporate world. And I was on a bike ride, a 50-mile bike ride. When I look back at the dates, it was Shabbos Tisha B'Av, I think it was 1995, and I fell off my bike. Contusion, concussion, skull fracture. But really, what it was, it looked like it was a really low point. I was on disability for 3 months. But when I started piecing my life back together, I wanted to study mysticism, whatever that was at the time. And I was led to study Sefer Yetzirah and loved it so much. Finding a universal text in Hebrew that pointed me to God was amazing. So the blessing and my rabbinate and my spiritual journey was really planted in Tisha B'Av. So this day fills me with awe, and I'm glad to have a chance to share with you. So I'm going to share screen now. Can the host enable screen sharing, please?
Yes, I've just done that.
Thank you. Okay. And let's see. That didn't work. Let's try again. Share. So
PowerPoint.
I'm getting a big zoom up here. Are you seeing my PowerPoint? There.
No,
No, you're not. Okay, let me
just a
try one.
fraction of it. Yeah.
That's okay. Let's try it one more time. All right, now you see it, right? Getting to Tisha
No,
B'Av.
now, yeah, now we have it. Yeah.
Tammuz to Av. Um, really just holding the space, and also the potency of this 3-week period, and the leading up to it is something that I want to talk to, which culminates on Tisha B'Av. And one of the things that we're going to look at and consider are circles, are spirals. So I think that the Niggin was really beautiful, and I'm just going to move into what we have to share here. And we talk about circles and spirals of time, because time does come in spirals, and the circle is an invocation of the sacred feminine of the holy Shekhinah. And the nature of God is a circle of which the center is everywhere and the circumference is nowhere. Also, in Jewish practice, we have many traditions of doing circles. So, this is a video of someone doing hakafot, circles around someone that was deceased, the final circles. We have circles that we do uh, when someone's under a chuppah getting married. Those are joyful circles. Simchas Torah, we walk circles with the Torah. Sukkot, we use our lulav and etrog, and we do hakafot. So circles are really foundational in Jewish life and the Jewish psyche, and we kind of pretend we're like the planets in a way by walking circles many times. Also, Tu B'Av is coming up shortly, and that's a time of circle dancing, Betulat B'Machol. So we are definitely keepers of the sacred circle. And circles, actually, there's actually no such thing as a circle in nature. It's actually theoretical, because there's really spirals. And you can see it's really the force of gravity that forces the circle into a spiral shape. And we can see here many different spirals shown in nature: the spiral galaxy, this is the inner ear, a rose petal unfolding, the solar system. We get a sense of these different kinds of circuits, spirals in nature. More circles. The picture on the left with the yod comes from the book Sefer Yetzirah, and it's a rendition of the feminine Eitz Chaim, the feminine tree of life, and it's a circle within circle model. The author who put this picture out, he sees God in the center emanating out. But also, I'd like to look at this and I can imagine God on the outside emanating in. And after a certain point, it kind of doesn't matter. They're both true. And there's a sense of awesomeness that can fill by looking at this image and imagining God on the inside going out, and also God on the outside in. It's just, it kind of doesn't matter because God's everywhere. And this other piece that I think is so fascinating is an electromicrograph of DNA. And the first time I saw this image, I was struck at how much it looked like the tree of life feminine image, the tree of life, like cutting the tree, a side view, which is exactly what this is of DNA. So what this is showing, and my sense of it is that the Kabbalists were intuiting something very physical, very manifest, and they weren't able to see the scanning of electron micrograph of this, and yet here it is. Fills me with awe. Okay, now these are different circles. These are circles based on Sefer Yetzirah. These are time circles because Sefer Yetzirah uses letters and to demarcate different moments in time. So the middle letters here are the mother letters that represent Kufot, the seasons. The outer letters here are the double letters representing the days of the week, starting with Beged, Bet Gimel Daled. And the outer circles, and this is what we're going to work with today, is a rendition of the 12 symbols, the months of the year. And so we're going to look a little bit at this. And this is just a beautiful rendition of the same idea. And what people can do, and like, I really want to make one of these where you actually turn the dial for the particular day. And it's a way of syncing up the letters of the day. And it's a wonderful, it could be a wonderful meditation for each particular day. And of course, we love to eat. And we have circles in our food, the round matzahs, the spiraling challahs for the high holy days. It's just a deep part of our culture, but it also can be missed until we bring it to our attention. Okay, whoops, we're not there yet. These are images. This one on the left, this one here with the brown one is the mosaic floor of a synagogue in Israel that is that really holds the constellations of the zodiac within it, and as they relate to the months of the year. This is also a similar rendition of the months of the year and showing the constellations of the zodiac within it. But what's interesting about these two is to see the center reference. So this references on Sartan, which is Cancer, the crab, which is the month of Tammuz. And you see it's like the solstice is in here. So it's kind of solstice oriented. And you see that's what's dominant, right? And now here you see in Nisan, which is springtime, this is the beginning of the Jewish year. So you can see that this is Jewish dominant because of where Nisan is placed. And the orientation can tell you a lot about it. And so this goes through, this is a cycle of the year. And we live on a planet that is rotating on her own axis 24 hours every day. We do a full spin. Every 29, and I think it's a quarter day, moon orbits the earth, making a full spin. And every 365, I think it's a quarter day, earth orbits the sun. And these three aspects make up what is arguably uniquely the Earth space time continuum, because there's no place else, there's likely no place else. Haven't been everywhere, can't tell you. But there's a certain uniqueness that pervades 24 hours a day, or rotating on the axis, the moon and the Earth's rotation around the sun, making up the uniqueness of the field. Because this is how we count time on Earth. And you wouldn't count time, it wouldn't be relevant anywhere else. So there is a real potency, a real uniqueness here on our sacred planet, which we need to protect and love. I know I'm sure we all love our mother. We need to protect our mother. So this is actually a similar diagram to the ones we saw before, focusing on the letters, the 12 simple letters. He, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Lamed, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Sadi, Kuf. And the orientation, I really just started, I made curved lines and I started with Hey, so it's not as intentional as the other ones would appear. But this is Nissan, this is ER, Vav is ER, it's like Vav is and, it's the connection month. Hey is the holy letter. Hey, then the name Yud Hey Vav Hey. Zion is the month of Sivan, where we get Matan Torah. Zion is number 7, and we are an Am Nekadshe Shivi'i, a people who love, who honor the sacred 7. And then after that part of the year, after the getting Matan Torah, um, we enter into what Reb Zalman called the midlife crisis of the year. starting with the letter Chet for Tammuz, and moving for Av in the letter Tet. And we're going to take a look at that. And this goes on for the other letters of the year. And I think it's so profound that Yud is a letter for Elul, getting ahead of myself. Like Yud is like that spark of God. And in Elul, that spark of God tends to be more accessible and it's available to us. Okay, so this is from Sefer Yetzirah, and this is a very standard format where they reference all the letters in similar ways. And so when it relates to Tammuz, it says, Himlich ot tet, v'kashar lo keter, v'tzarbo sartan be'olam, v'tamuz b'shana, v'regel smol b'nefesh. So the letter Chet was anointed. It was tied to Keter. So it's like when the letter is tied to Keter, the divine light, the Or Ein Sof, the Or of the infinite, the light of the infinite can shine through it. And so when it's shined through a letter, which I imagine in 3 dimensions, and maybe it's n dimensions, because we're limited on Earth because we have a 3-dimensional reality. But so the light is shining through it, and then different shadows appear and different forms appear as a result of that. And so when the letter Chet was tied to Keter, the Sartan, the crab, was formed in space, Tammuz was formed in time, and the left leg in spirit, which is like the individual consciousness, the individual awareness. So Olam, Shana, Nefesh, we're going to be looking at that. Space, time, and spirit are 3 aspects that are referred to for each of the months and for each of the letters. Similarly, the month of Av, which is the month that we're in now, the letter Tet was anointed and tied to Keter. So imagine a Tet, and this is what a Tet looks like. So when I do meditations, I love to imagine the letter Tet above my head and see the light of the infinite come in and invite it to inform, to reflect the light, bend the light in a particular way for renewal, for new awareness. And it was tied to Keter, tied to crown. And through it were formed Leo, Aryeh, in space, Av in time, and the right kidney in soul, in spirit, Benefesh. So we have a certain awareness of the connectivity of Tammuz and Av because of the 3 weeks. They kind of straddle, it does straddle both months. And we put these letters together and want to say, what does that spell? Chet, tet, chet, like for missing the mark, for the mistake that I made. And so this is a time when we're several months, we're like more than 6 months, many months since the last time since the high holy days where we set ourselves on course. And what tends to happen is like we can drift off course, not even without awareness, without intentionality, just by doing the day-to-day things. Or like what seems like is really, really a good idea, well, maybe it's not so good anymore. Like an example that comes to mind that we see so many people fall into, and there's a need, there can be a need too, it's very hard, as far as earning parnasa, for example. It can be good to earn parnasa, and it's good to come and feed your family and have enough to make a life. And but when we forget that the parnasa is for the family and is for community, and it develops for its own sake, well, it's like we can easily, for example, start missing the mark and just like working for its own sake as opposed to working to better life. And it's a small shift, but over time it can derail, as one example. Okay, so this is Chet and Tet. The letters of the month point to, yeah, we're probably off course now. And Reb Zalman would talk about this cycle of the year as midlife crisis. So kind of like Hanukkah is the winter solstice, And Hanukkah is the new spark of light, where everybody's lighting candles in the dark. So that's the new spark of light, Hanukkah. Then we get to the next holiday, which is Tu B'Shvat, and that's the growing edge, the greenness of the trees. We witness it and we acknowledge it and we encourage it. So that's just like a little bit of growth from there. The next holiday is Purim. And on Purim, it's adolescents acting out, wearing masks, hidden holiness, shtuyot, silliness. Sometimes, making jokes and riddles and drinking and partying. That's adolescence. After Purim, we go to the next holiday is Pesach, right? And Pesach is like being the young adult, coming out, getting dressed, getting ready, maybe graduating high school, having agency. It's like Israel becoming a nation, and in the yearly process, there's agency that's developed. Then we go to school, which is counting the Omer time, till Shavuos, where we get a degree, we get married, we come into our own in a more powerful way, Matan Torah, like the Bnei Yisrael did at that time. And then after Shavuos, we get into this Tammuz Av time frame, and we can even tell by the Torah portions in Tammuz, even before the 17th of Tammuz, we got the Meraglim, the stories of the spies, giving a poor report on Israel. There's Korach, where the people rebelled and fell into the earth, right? There's an earth opened up and swallowed them up. Balak and Pinchas, and they're all very kind of harsh Torah portions, which indicate the energy of this particular time and the coming energy as we're starting Tammuz and moving into Av. Okay, so let's go back and reflect on a way to look at the synchronicity of the moment through Olam, Shana, Nefesh, space, time, spirit. First of all, I love this, that the Roshei Tevot, the first letter of each word, Olam, Shana, Nefesh, gives us Ashan, which is smoke. It's kind of like the holy smoke that's like the veil behind the source of all, or it just like it kind of covers it. Space, time, and spirit. So, like for example, one way this manifested was during the time of the temple. Um, the holiest person, individual, at the holiest day would go to the holiest place. So where was this? The Kohen Hagadol on Yom Kippur would go to the Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies. And in that way, space, time, and spirit was like a triple header, and really keyed into all three aspects in a maximal way. Another way to understand Olam Shana Nefesh is there's Joseph Ashkenazi's commentary on Sefer Yetzirah. He talks about the body as being space. This is kind of my temple. This is the space. Then time is another aspect, the Jewish calendar. And then he looks at the way the body is different, like a fingerprint, like a thumbprint, like if you took a cross section of my tissue here of my arm and compared it with your tissue, it would be a different khatima, a different imprint. So there's an individual aspect in that way, which is different than the spine, which we have in general. Another way to understand Olam Shana Nefesh is okay. So right here, right now, often if I teach a class in the past, it would be in a room, so we'd be all in the same place. And now with the wonders of technology and Zoom, we are all in our own locations, our different physical location, which is really pretty awesome. It's really a way of like expanding the space-time continuum. And the way that we meet here dominantly is we connect through time, right? We're all here at the same instant, in our own spaces. And then each of us are an individual spirit and bring an individual resonance, an individual reality to the table. I mean, each of us, everybody's a world, a universe unto themselves. And if someone was not here, or if there are other people here, it would definitely change the energy field and change the movement of what's being given over. So it's really important to, to really just to feel into the individual. Of course, it's easier to do that. We're in the same physical space, and they're getting accustomed to doing it on Zoom and connecting in that way. Okay, so Reb Zalman used this. I don't know who here read the book Paradigm Shift. So one of the things I love about the book is that he really showed what happened, the destruction of the temple, not as something as like as a part of a natural progress, a process. And while change is hard and destruction and dissolution of a regularly accustomed way of life is hard to adjust to, um, still this is part of a natural progression. How? I'll show you. Okay, first, when Judaism was early Judaism, the temple in Jerusalem was where people went to meet God. You want to see God? You schedule time and you walk over to the sacred place, and that was the dominant way of meeting Source. Now, the holidays still played a role. The individuals still played a role. The dominant way was going to the temple. Then the temple was destroyed, and people were afraid that Judaism was going to evaporate, dissolve, would not be available any longer, could not be practiced. How could you do Jew without a temple? Because it was the temple cult. That was the association. And there was a lot of concern. And so until people, Yochanan ben Zakkai and his chevra went to Yavna, and they put together what is now rabbinical Judaism. And so the temple sacrifices were replaced with prayers. We know we're going to fulfill the sacrifices with our lips. And Judaism moved from being focused to highlighting space to highlighting time. And so we meet on agreed upon times. We celebrate on agreed upon times, like today, and we mourn today, for example, on agreed upon times. So this really represents the rabbinical Judaism that's been practiced for more than 2,000 years. And Baruch Hashem, it's kept, we get to Jew today because of these wonderful, brilliant rabbis who were radicals at the time. There was a lot of naysaying, and they pushed the boundaries. And we're here Jewing today because of them. And so the next step, and this is the step that I think that we're in now, maybe in the early focus, is focusing on nefesh, on the individual. So space is still important, and we still meet on time. But what's becoming more and more evident is that the focus, like everybody has a job to do here. We're all born for a reason. We all have a tough key, something that we're meant to fill out, something that only we can do. And so the focus becomes more on individuation and what is it that I bring to the table? How can I help? What can I do to help? And really cultivating and highlighting and developing individual skills, being where the light is being shined more now. Okay, so what do we do with this? So what I do with this, and the way I work with it is just like we were forced to change when the temple was destroyed, just like the temple not being available. And that was a very big conscious change. I mean, there are other changes that are going on with the pandemic, for example. The way of life has been changed, has been altered. Maybe it'll change back, maybe it won't. There'll probably be some changes that last, but there's a real shifting of the scene. So I mean, this type of energy continues. But having said that, it's been a long time since we've done the spiritual work of the High Holy Days, and as we started out in the presentation, over time we kind of forget what's good, what seems good, maybe isn't so good anymore. So it's really a time to take a look at what needs to be shifted, what's no longer serving, what can be released. Just the way the sacrifice, we were forced to release the sacrifices, and the sacrifices were released from Jewish practice. What is it in your personal life that is no longer serving you? What's changed and made something maybe obsolete? Maybe there's a better way to spend your energy. So, what has changed and is no longer useful for you personally, in your community, and globally? And so, this is an opportunity in the 3 weeks and today on Tisha B'Av to review and release and make space for something new, because Tu B'Av's coming and Teshuva time, Elul's coming. And so we become new beings. It's like death and rebirth. And in a way, Tisha B'Av is like a practice of letting go, of dying, so that we can become something new and something more resilient. So let's take a moment, um, with curiosity, caring, and discernment. So I want to invite you to go inside. I'm going to show you this picture for yearning. What is it that we yearn for? What do we want to change? What can we do personally? And so we'll just take a moment, close our eyes, and check back in and see what comes up for you. On Tisha B'Av, we can feel the distance from source. It's like a rubber band that's been pulled back. And that creates a sense of yearning, a sense of longing, so that when that tension is released, we can go full forward into the arms of the beloved. May it be so. So what's the vision? The vision is birthing Moshiach consciousness together. So we dance in a circle, Betulot b'machol, Tzadik. The house is a vision of circle dances up in Gan Eden, where all the righteous people are dancing one with another. And the thing about a circle is there's no hierarchy. Everybody has a say. Everybody has their moment in the sun, like the constellations of the zodiac. Every constellation gets its time to shine and gets the attention. So everybody can lead and everybody can be led. May it be the will.
Shukach.
Thank you.
We do have time to do a longer meditation now, if you want to lead us or sing a song. We have more time.
Okay. I'd be really happy to. I see a hand. We have questions.
Yeah,
Marty?
we can take questions
We'll
too.
take questions, and then if there's time, I'd be
Uh,
happy to lead a meditation, a tree of life meditation.
Marty,
Yes.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. It really illuminated a lot for me. I have one question. It feels like at the 3 weeks and the Tisha B'Av time, we're refocusing on how we've missed the mark, and we're trying. We've lost some of what over this period of the year. What puzzles me is it seems Tisha B'Av, the 3 weeks Tisha B'Av, Tu B'Av, and then we get into Elul. It feels like we're doing it again, and it's so close to what we've just done. It in the flow of the 12 months you were talking about, it seems a little bit out of sync.
So the way I'll tell you my sense of it is that during these 3 weeks, we release and we become like prima matter, like the pure, ready to mold matter. And then starting I actually start for me, Tisha B'Av. I'm already into Tshuva and Elul, and that's reformatting the prima matter that's been worked and cleansed, and that's really like prime stuff, ready to be morphed into a new life, a new way of being for the next Gilgul, for the next cycle. Does that help?
Tamima,
Thank
Yes.
I'd like to add a little something to that. First of all, I'm just like, I'm so happy right now. I've never been happier for I don't know how long. That was a wonderful presentation, and I'm just excited because of my own work with the Jewish year as an astrologer, and that's sort of my life's work as talking. I'm just so happy to hear you talk about circles and spirals, and it's so important to understand these things. Even the shape of the tribes around the Mishkan is a circle, unlike you will see the males who drew pictures in medieval times and other times of what they thought the Mishkan was a square, which obviously could never be. But that's another thing. But about Elul, just to address the astrological and the Kabbalistic aspects of Elul. Elul is Virgo, right? Betula, and
Tulip in the fall.
Sivan, Chodesh Sivan, where we received Matan Torah, is Gemini. It's Gemini and Virgo are the two zodiac signs that are ruled by Kohav, which is Mercury, but Gemini is an air sign. It's the mutable air sign, and Virgo is the mutable earth sign. So it's a different manifestation of the Mercury energy. In Sivan, it's in the realm of thought, but earth signs are about manifestation. So it's taking that high place that we were in thought from in the Mercury manifestation of Chodesh Sivan by Gemini, going through the moon sun, Cancer, Leo, Tammuz, Av process that we're going through, and coming out the other side in Chodesh Elul, which is all about Shuva, which is the manifestation of that Mercury. That Mercury is the planet of communication. It's how God communicates with the world, in a sense, how the Shefa comes down. In Elul, we're
that's
with
beautiful.
our own soul.
Matan Torah and then Tshuva time, kind of being parallel, balancing.
Yeah. Progression. It's a progression, like you were saying. The Jewish year is a progression. So
yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And I look forward to learning more from you as well. It's very exciting to be able to really go more and more deeply into this area. Ari and Quinn.
Hello. We've been like chewing on the side and like developing some stuff about what's being talked about. But one of the things that we both noticed is that when you wrote review and release, you specifically did a re-lease, and it got us thinking about the process of catharsis around Tshuva and High Holy Days as being a sort of contract review with God, wherein we re-rent our souls from God. And it reminded me of how you were talking about how the circle isn't actually a thing. Like, circle exists as a concept, but in reality, it's a spiral wherein we aren't actually getting back the same contract we had in the year before. It moves in the same pattern, but it's actually a completely new one. It's a new ring in the spiral. And that reminded me very much of something that, because my birthday is in Elul, I spend a lot of time thinking about Elul. And so I was always taught Elul is for lovers, because Elul is the acronym Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed, which is Ani Ledodi Vedodi Li. I am my beloved and my beloved is mine. And I'm thinking about that with the juxtaposition of it being immediately after the kind of rock bottom of Tisha B'Av, and how from that place of brokenness, you get to build a new relationship with God. Like, you acknowledge the distance, you acknowledge the shattering of the cycle that came before and how that falls apart. And then you begin this process of looking at your relationship with God and reestablishing it, finding that love again, and then remarrying yourself to God through this process of tshuva.
Mm.
And I'm thinking about it, especially in the context of the fact that the Shabbat after is always Shabbat Nachamu. It's about consolation. It's about moving not backwards in the sense of healing from the shattering, but healing through the shattering. Looking at consolation as moving forward into the next iteration of the spiral.
So ongoing, rebirth. It's death and rebirth, letting go. And there's this wonderful, I think, if you want to live, I want to think it's Levi Yitzhak of Erditcha said, if you really want to live, you must die. Like, be willing to let go and release. And it's an ongoing process. So thankfully, Baruch Hashem. Thank you. Are you Ari or Quinn? Because there are two of you there.
I'm Ari.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Hi.
Yeah, Shakak, that was a great teaching, you guys. That was really great. Thank you.
Beautiful.
I was thinking, well, the weddings I do with smashing the glass too. The rabbis teach that you're supposed to remember the temple at the greatest moment of joy, right? Smashing the Beit Hamikdash is broken and destroyed. So Zecher Beit Hamikdash in the middle of the Chatunah. But I liked it's then a rebirth out of that out of the shattered comes this marriage, which is a sign of hope for the future. This partnership, like a new ketubah between God and the people of Israel. Very nice imagery about getting ready. More questions for Reb Tamima? Or more questions, comments? Or is she going to... Song? Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to say this hour is usually devoted to the topic of Davanology, which is Reb Zalman's term, which is my catch-all phrase for everything about Jewish prayer and theology and ritual, ranging from the Jew Wiccan to more Christian-oriented things, to integration of prayer with other traditions, to how you pray, to Hebrew, Aramaic. So this hour, Thursday, all year long is Davanology. But I'm giving over my Thursdays to Reb Tamima in August, because she's an incredible teacher with great depth and great wisdom, which I await this class very much. So come August, because she's teaching Davanology for us in August, okay? And we'll get you the exact dates. Come register for her class or join us, and we'll have her back. Yay.
Yay. Thank you.
I posted in the chat also the link to Reb Tamima's site, holisticjew.org. So you can get her work there and maybe prepare a little bit for the class.
Yeah.
We're very, very excited about it.
Right. There's a siddur that I put together. Basically, it's a siddur with a full liturgy. Although it's, well, not although, and it's like Edut Mizrahi Sephardi, because there's some really juicy stuff in there. Reb Zalman's translations into English, and Kabbalistic Kavanot that have been translated probably for the first time, in the first time that I know of anyway, in English. And so really a way to use these Kavanot, even if for people that don't have access to the Hebrew, or even if you do, it's not so easy to understand. You pull out a Rashash Siddur, it's not so easy to understand. And I've also have resources of other Siddurim in Hebrew that are easier to use than the Rashash if you're interested. I'd love to tell you about it. Brings me so much joy and so much spiritual nourishment. I want everybody to know about it.
Okay. Maybe a meditation or a closing song.
Yeah.
Or closing.
Okay, let's do a closing song. I think that would be, we can chant this together. I'm going to share. So we have, close your eyes because I'm going to scroll up. I should probably not have shared until I found it here. I love this. This is Michael Shapiro. And so we can chant this several times. And then after a while, you'll likely find that this chant will chant you. The words are modified from Zohar. So memale, which I'll just say it once in English, in Hebrew, so we can get the words together. Memale kol olamim, it fills all worlds. the Sovev Kol Olmin, surrounds all worlds. So it's got this sense of the circle in it. So I love that it's got the Sovev in here because I'm often talking about circles. If you learn with me, you'll see. Umi baladecha, and without you, Ein shun metziut klal, there is nothing that can be found at all. So it goes like this. Memale kol olmin, v'savev kol olmin, umibaladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Please sing with me. Memale kol olmin, v'savev kol olmin, Umi baladecha, ain't shum metziut klal. Then it gets a little different. Memale kol almin, v'savev kol almin. Umi baladecha, ain't shum metziut klal. Memale kol almin, v'savev kol almin, umi baladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Memale kol almin, v'savev kol almin, umi baladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Memale kol almin, v'savev kol almin, umi baladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Memale kol almin, v'savev kol almin, umi baladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Memale kol almin, v'savev kol almin, umi baladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Memale kol almin, v'savev kol almin, umi baladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Memale kol olmin, v'savev kol olmin, umi baladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Memale kol olmin, v'savev kol olmin, umi baladecha, ein shum metziut klal. Memale kol olmin, v'savev kol olmin, umi baladecha, ein shum metziut klal.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Yishar kochech. May you live long and teach us long. And may everybody find the strength in them to pass through grief, to birth Mashiach within, to break down the walls that keep us from each other, to help the Black Lives Matter movement move on with social justice in this country, black and white together, all genders, all orientations.
Amen.
We thank Lorelei Kud, our wonderful Balat Hazum, our executive director. Thank you, Lorelei, also for teaching us always.
Jonathan, I'm here if you wanted me to sing.
Oh, yeah. Sarah has a great song, if you want to hang out a little, that I love, Reb Sarah. You get 3 rabbis in an afternoon, which is kind of a turn out of our class towards a more positive ending of Tisha B'Av. And tonight we are doing a big ritual on Zoom. But Sarah has a great song, and she does it her way, which is very powerful and beautiful. Please, Reb Sarah, some of you know it is from the prophets. And you going to show us your punim? Or yes, there you are. Okay.
Hine yamim ba'im nehum Hashem vishlach tira ba'aretz lo rav lalechem v'lo tzama lamayim ki hine yamim ba'im nahem Hashem vishlach tira ba'aretz lo Rav lalechem v'lo tzama lamayim. Lo rav lalechem v'lo tzama lamayim. Kim lishmoa divrei Hashem. Lo rav lalechem v'lo tzama lamayim. Kim lishmoa divrei Hashem. Hine yamim ba'im nehum Hashem vishlach tira ba'aretz lo rav lalechem v'lo tzama lamayim. Hine yamim ba'im nehum Hashem vishlach tira ba'aretz lo rav lalechem v'lo tzama lamayim. Lo rav lalechem v'lo tzama lamayim. Kim lishmoa divrei Hashem. Lo rav lalechem v'lo tzama lamayim. Kim lishmoa divrei Hashem. There will come a time in the land when there will be a thirst, not for bread or for water, but for the words of Hashem. And to just round this off, I'm going to show you the face of my sleeping grandchild.
Yay. Oh, good. Yay.
There you are.
Baruch Hashem.
I remember your daughters at that age. I remember both of them.
Yeah,
I
really.
remember Aliyah and Shendel at that age just a little while ago. Oh my God.
I
Oh my
know.
God.
Time
All
passes.
right, folks. Thank you very much, folks. We have a great event tonight. Lorelei, please.